Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend album review. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show, guys. We're finally here. You know, this is the end of the marathon, guys. We've been talking about Sabrina Carpenter since last Thursday, or Thursday night, and I haven't stopped listening to this album ever since. You know, I've listened to it a few times over, and guys, I'm going to say this, you know, opening thoughts about the Sabrina Carpenter album, I just want to say that, you know, the production value on this album is just so much better, so much greater than whatever, you know, what Short and Sweet was. Short and Sweet was great, but, you know, the production on here, you know, it feels more spontaneous, it feels more, you know, natural. You know, there's songs where, you know, it doesn't feel like we're jumping from a genre sound to a genre sound like Short and Sweet, you know.
The Conjuring, Last Rites. On September 5th.
Hey, come down here! I need your help! Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
The Conjuring, Last Rites. Only in theaters September 5th. Rated R.
We're you know, this is a pop album, you know, but there's some pop song elements, there's some, you know, heartbreaks, you know, sad song elements in this album. There's also some country, you know, acoustic instrumental production too. You know, the bending of genres here was just so great to listen to, in my opinion. I think it was done really well. So let's get into this album, guys. Let's start off, you know, I'll start off how we go over my album reviews. You know, always got to break down how we do it around here. I'll be giving 3 basic overall points, and then I'll be going over every single track off the album and giving my 1 out of 5 score. Then at the end of the album, we're going to add up all these 1 out of 5 scores, and I'll be giving you a final 1 out of 10 score to end off this album review. So guys, we got a lot to talk about. We have over 12 tracks to get to. And let's get started, guys. Starting off with my first point, which is going to be the production of this album. You know, I really feel like the production on this album was so good. You know, there's so many, you know, 80s-like synth elements in this album. There's a lot of country, you know, fiddle, acoustic guitar, twang elements too that I just really enjoyed. You know, I like all the different vocal switch-ups that were on this overall album. You know, there were some country switch-ups, there were some nice pop switch-ups, and there was even some R&B-like vocals with House Tour. House Tour comes on, and now I'm maybe expecting, you know, maybe something like, you know, the Hot Song. And then, you know, it wasn't like that, you know, it was like an 80s, like, R&B, like, type song. It was just so good to listen to, you know, the sense.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
808 bass, etc. I think just everything really worked for that song, and I really like how we get elements like that. And you know, then you get tracks like Sugar Talkin', which just had such a great hook. You know, the hook was so addicting. You know, that ending vocal runaway on Sugar Talkin' was just so good. So overall, I really do enjoy the production. Now, my next point, let's talk about the vocals. I think the vocals were perfect on this album. You know, there were so many moments where there were so many great vocal runaways. There were so moments where, you know, vocals just sound so goddamn good. You know, all the different vocal switches too just, you know, provided so much value, you know, so much listening value to the music which you're listening to, which is so just great to hear. And then, you know, I think I like the fact that this album's, even the verses, you know, how well the verses were written, and that's what we'll get to the next point, which is the lyrics. You know, I never really talk about lyrics on an album, but today I'm going to be adding a lyrics point because this is the first time in a long time that I've actually, you know, paid attention to the pop lyrics on this album. And I will say the lyrics on here were beautifully written. You know, the wordplay was so good. metaphors used here were so good, songs like, House Tour or Tears, all those different metaphors that were in here. There were some sexual innuendos, throughout this whole entire album, but there also was, some really great heartbreaking songs, some really, emotional moments, moments where, the orchestra, like instrumental, gets to really play out. Vocal runs are so deep and so passionate because there's actually some sadness, there's actually some, realism into these vocals, which you definitely do hear. So yeah, lyrics on here were just absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So now let's move on, guys, and let's start talking about every single track. We're going to be going over every single track, rating it 1 out of 5. I'll be giving my thoughts about all the tracks on this album. Man's Best Friend, this was a 12-track album, 38 minutes long, which is really nice. I love it when albums, are actually on a decent length. Once we're over 20 songs, once we're over 30 songs, there's going to be moments where you're not going to really enjoy. So let's get into this, starting off with the first track, Man Child. Man Child, going back and listening to the song, I really enjoyed Man Child. It's not the best Sabrina Carpenter song, but I think the hook is really addicting. I think using the word man child is actually really clever in my opinion. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of man childs out there. It's an epidemic. It's a disease, I might add. So, it makes all the sense in the world. And Man Child, I would say, is a really good track. Instrumental was really good. I like how there's like a country, like guitar, like, little twang to it throughout this whole entire track. But then you get that addicting pop hook, those addicting verses. The verses, in my opinion, were not really for me. That's what I'll say about Man Child. There was some talking in the first one, and then the second one I just didn't really enjoy that much. But Man Child overall is a really good track. I'll give this track a 4 out of 5. Tears is going to get a 5 out of 5.
I'm 32, juggling family, working full-time, and earning a bachelor's degree. At University of Phoenix, I earn career-relevant skills with every 5-week course. Skills I can use now, not just after graduation.
Earn skills in weeks, not years. Visit phoenix.edu.
Alright, this song just sounds really good. I like the 80s and pop synth vibes that are, baked into this song. The bass here is just so good. The orchestra, the orchestra instrumental runaway, just letting the instrumental do its goddamn thing, was just so beautiful to listen to. I mean, the vocals on here were so good. The hook was so good. This track right here is an easy 5 out of 5. And then We Almost Broke Up Again Last Night. This track, too. Lyrics were really good on this track. Instrumental was just fantastic. Vocals on here were really deep, really personal, really good song in my opinion. 5 out of 5. The next song is Nobody's Son. Nobody's Son 2 was a really good track. I was surprised, Nobody's Son. I said I might not like this track, and then I listened to this track, guys, and I was like, oh, wait a second, I gotta do a review about this song because, yeah, this song's really goddamn good. The instrumental, the acoustic guitar country-like instrumental in this song, it's so good. Nobody's Son's a 5 out of 5. Never Getting Laid. Never Getting Laid is also going to be a 5 out of 5 because the hook is so goddamn good. The vocals are so goddamn deep on the hook that I'm just like, holy shit. The way the instrumental also builds too, and it has this climax moment with the hook like every single fucking time. I mean, goddamn, guys, this song right here is an easy 5 out of 5. And then When Did You Get Hot? This song right here too is a 5 out of 5. There's a lot of goddamn 5 out of 5s on this album. I'm sorry, but look, the way that this instrumental is addicting, the way the drums sound so goddamn good, that funky, kind of romantic kind of bass that's just kind of baked throughout this whole entire track. This song right here, guys, the hook. I mean, the hook is just going to get stuck in your head alone. Easy 5 out of 5. And then you get Go-Go Juice, which is another... It's another easy 5 out of 5 because I would really think, guys, that I like all of the country elements that are in this song. This is for the country people. This is your country drinking song right here. This is your heartbreak drinking song right here. It's framed like it's a heartbreak, maybe a heartbreak drinking song, but no, it's actually a freaky, you know, I'm gonna get drunk and I'm gonna call everybody that I goddamn know, and we're about to go fucking crazy. So it's a freaky ass song, and guys, you know, I always have to support the freaky ass songs because, you know, hey, everybody's on that type of time these days, so I'm gonna have to easily give it a 5 out of 5. Don't worry, I'll make you worry.
This episode is brought to you by Onnit. Want to know the secret to staying locked in? Onnit Alpha Brain. This daily supplement is jam-packed with clinically studied ingredients that support focus, memory, and mental speed. Whether you're in your daily grind or deep in the zone, Onnit Alpha Brain helps you stay razor sharp. Visit onnit.com for 15% off, subscribe and save, and see what your brain can really do.
Some people think nature is like this, but actually, it's like this. That's why Columbia engineers everything we make for anything nature can throw at you. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
I really like the instrumental. I like the vocal style. I also like the vocal style on the hook. I think the hook is just absolutely fantastic on here. This one, too, is a 5 out of 5. And then House Tour. House Tour. Guys, I forgot about this goddamn song. I might be adding it to my personal music playlist because this is what I've been wanting. You know, this is the R&B, like, 80s, like, synth, like, wave sound that, like, I've really been wanting, you know, in pop music. You know, if you're gonna make songs with R&B background vocals, you're gonna have all these different elements. When you make a song like House Tour, this is a fucking cheat code. I mean, this song sounds fantastic. I mean, the vocal style, the deep ass, like, jazzy bass that's throughout this whole entire track. These synthy ass R&B synths too that just sound so good. These, like, great drums that just get stuck in your head. And then those addicting verses, that addicting hook comes in. This song right here is absolutely fantastic. And if I was going to recommend a song off this album, I would definitely be recommending House Tour. I mean, holy shit. And then the final track to end off this album is Goodbye. Goodbye is going to get a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the vocals on here. I really enjoyed the hook. Yeah, this song is really good. You know, I just really like how, you know, every time the hook is over, you know, there's a vocal runway at the end that just, you know, sounds really goddamn good. The different languages of saying goodbye to was really funny. That shit was, like, absolutely hilarious to listen to. So, you know, even for that, you know, just having a little laugh in the song, you know, even if it's a really depressing, heartbreaking, heartfelt song, I think Goodbye is an absolute great ending to an album. One of the best. You know, I thought Short and Sweet was good. Nah, Short and Sweet's ending, you know, that was fine, but this is a really good way to end the album off. Guys, when we talk about Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, this album was highly anticipated, even had some controversy that was layered into this album, and even my own expectations for this album have fully been met, have fully been ran over. I mean, holy shit, you know, you can't just do these, like, 80s, like, R&B, older, inspired, like, songs and not, you know, do it again. Hopefully we get more of this type of music. I mean, it was so goddamn good. Guys, I'm gonna say this, and, you know, after listening to this album throughout the whole entire way, this might be one of the best pop albums in 2025. I don't think there's going to be a pop album that even hits this level, and I'll be real, I really don't even think Taylor Swift is going to hit this type of score. Guys, this is really only, you know, this really is like one of a kind. This is one of those albums where I go, this is a one-of-a-kind score. You know, don't be basing your entire discography now on pop.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide. Visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Music for this album, but I'm not gonna lie, this album has definitely set a new standard. This album, needs to be studied by every, upcoming pop artist that wants to make pop music, because this is how you're supposed to do it. The instrumental variety in this album alone kills any fucking pop album or song that I've listened to in 2024 and 2023. Guys, this, I can't believe I'm actually giving this score. Guys, we're giving a big score today. This album actually shocked me, and I've said it on my own, criteria. I made this criteria, back in 2020, and this criteria has only ever reached the 9 out of 10 peak. But today we're changing it up, because I think the last score I've given like this was, the Silk Sonic Bruno Mars days. So, there's only a few people that have reached this level in my opinion. So, I'm going to have to do it, guys. I'm going to be giving Man's Best Friend a perfect 10 out of 10. Guys, 10 out of 10. What'd y'all think about this album? Did you like it like I did? Did you love it like I did? Do you think it's a 10 out of 10 like I did? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been a great time reviewing this Sabrina Carpenter marathon. All the songs have been absolutely fantastic. And hey, I don't know how she could ever top this or, keep going forward. But I hope, as I always say, I hope artists keep evolving. I hope they keep improving. And, I don't know if there will be another album like this, because this feels, like a heartbreak. Like, this feels like a once in a lifetime chapter in life. And once you're past this chapter, I don't know if you can ever reach this level of emotional, maturity, and, I don't know if you can ever reach this level again on an album, but we'll see. You never fucking know. So yeah, guys, I'll say y'all already have a good one. Yeah, guys. Bye.